Man, this is probably the greatest week of college football we have seen this year, and it's absolutely crazy. I'm going to break down all of it with you guys and give you my top 25. I'm going to explain why I have every team, where they're at after the whole shakeup. Literally, my entire top 25 changed other than like one or two teams, so bear with me. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so here's my top 25 for this week. Like I said, there's a lot of shakeup, especially if you watched my video on my rankings last week. You'll definitely understand the amount of change that was put into this. But I'm going to explain why every team is where they are. Starting at the top with Georgia. Obviously, Georgia beat Tennessee 27-13. Tennessee didn't even score a touchdown until 4 minutes left. And they just didn't look good on offense the entire game. Georgia honestly didn't look that good on offense other than the first quarter. But I think they slowed down and they just tried to take all the time away from Tennessee the rest of the game. So it was score some points, get a lead, and then hold that lead for the rest of the game, and that was their game plan. It worked. And like I told people before, Kent State and Missouri both scored more on Georgia than Tennessee did, so I don't want to hear anything about Tennessee as the best offense in America anymore, because they just don't. Georgia's defense is insane. They played out of their mind, and they are clearly the number one team in the country right now. Going along with that, Hendon Hooker is definitely not the Heisman front runner anymore, because he can't win the big games, and I just kind of sense that they were a little bit of fraudish, especially after LSU just took care of Alabama, and LSU obviously isn't as good as Alabama. So I mean, it is what it is, but I moved Tennessee to 5, as you see. But honestly, I don't have Tennessee making the playoff. They're not going to make the playoff. Georgia is going to go to the SEC championship. They're probably going to play LSU, and they're probably going to beat LSU. So there's no way for Tennessee to make it unless, I don't know, if TCU loses and Ohio State or Michigan get blown out by each other, then maybe they can creep into the 4th spot. But other than that, I really don't see a way for Tennessee to get in, especially after Alabama lost. And then moving on to Michigan, I have Michigan at number 2. They beat Rutgers 52-17, and in Michigan fashion, they were losing at halftime to Rutgers, and I don't know, for some reason, Michigan and Ohio State both seem to play terrible in the first half, but especially Michigan, they always have trouble in the first half, which is kind of alarming, but it's good that they make adjustments in the second half. They did blow them out, so that's why I have them at number 2. Ohio State played Northwestern. They did not look good at all the entire game. It was 21-7. They could not stop the run to save their life. They did only allow 7 points though, so I guess it is what it is. The offense didn't look good. It was raining 50-mile-per-hour gust winds and everything. CJ Stroud couldn't throw the ball, and our run game isn't really that good. So I'm sliding Ohio State down to 3 just because of all those issues. And until they have at least a couple of them fixed, that's where they're gonna stay until they play Ohio State. Until they play Michigan. And then moving on from that, we have TCU sitting at 4. They beat Texas Tech again. They came back to win this game. I don't know what it is with TCU. They just like playing from behind, but nonetheless, they did get the win. They do deserve to be in the top 4. I have them sitting at 4. Max Duggan is doing a great job with that team, especially in the 4th quarter. And if they're behind, they're probably gonna win. That's just how it is. And sitting behind them, I have Tennessee. I already talked about Tennessee. They're number 5. I have them at 5 and Oregon at 6, just because Tennessee played Georgia at Georgia and lost better than Oregon did. Obviously, Oregon lost 49-3. So those are the only losses that those teams have, and Tennessee's is better. So I have them above Oregon. And then I have LSU right behind them. LSU beat Alabama 32-31. They won on a 2-point conversion. Amazing game. Absolutely amazing game. I watched the entire thing. Jaden Daniels with his legs. Alabama could not do anything to stop that man, and he was able to throw the ball downfield. And then their defense, LSU's defense, came to play. Alabama really didn't score a touchdown until the 3rd quarter, or was it the 4th quarter? I don't remember, but they played out of their minds in Baton Rouge, and that place was going crazy, and they deserved that win. I had them at number 17, I believe, and I moved them all the way up to 7 after that win, just because no one believed that they could do it, especially after losing to Florida State and then getting destroyed by Tennessee. And I was very conflicted to put USC and UCLA above them just because they have the 2 losses, but I truly believe that LSU is a really good team, and I think they deserve to be there for now. It might change, but I definitely believe that they're on the upkeep. They're gonna keep rolling off this, and they're gonna win out the rest of their games. And sitting behind LSU, I have USC sitting at the number 8 spot. I have them sitting there after their win against California. Honestly, they didn't look that dominant, but hey, They won. They keep winning. They're 8-1. What can you say? And then same thing with UCLA. UCLA 8-1. They beat Arizona State at Arizona State. That kind of looked more impressive, to be honest, but I still think USC is slightly better than UCLA, even though I do think UCLA might be able to beat them at the end of the year. Then I got Ole Miss at 10. They were on a bye. They were ranked 11. I moved them up one because I moved Alabama behind them, just because Ole Miss has 1 loss and Alabama has 2, and that gets into Alabama. I have Alabama sitting at 11 in front of Clemson. Even though Clemson has 1 loss and Alabama has 2, I do believe that the Crimson Tide would absolutely destroy Clemson because their offense is so bad. They lost 35-14 to Notre Dame, and honestly, it should have been 35-0. And I could only imagine if Notre Dame actually had a decent quarterback and a decent pass game, they would have beaten them like 49-0. It would have been ugly. So I have to put Clemson behind Alabama. They are overrated. Clemson is not a good team. Their defense is okay. Their offense is so bad. And I really, even if they went out, I'm not moving them up past like 7. They're going to stay back there until they fix something, because it doesn't matter. DJ Uyunglele or Cade Klubnik, they both just don't look that good. Cade will probably be a lot better next year, but for right now, Clemson's not good. They're staying at 12. After them, I got Utah. Utah won their game against, I think, Arizona, like 45-20 or something like that. So they're staying right there. And then North Carolina won their game against Virginia. They're sitting at 14. 15, Penn State. Penn State beat the absolute brains out of Indiana. So they moved up a couple spots for me. I think I had them at 16, so I moved them up 1 actually, right behind North Carolina. North Carolina only has 1 loss, and that's honestly Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's looking like a good team. So Penn State right behind them. And then we got a couple group of 5 teams. I have Tulane sitting at 16 after their win over Tulsa. I really do care about the group of 5. I really do. I think that there's a lot of better teams than they get credit for. Tulane, they have a win over Kansas State, which Kansas State, as you guys see, I have ranked 20, and they have some impressive wins then on their own, and Tulane has looked good. They haven't lost in a while, and I just really believe in the Green Wave, so I'm going to give them their props. They're at 16. And 17, I have Liberty, another team that not even the college football playoff has in. They just beat up on Arkansas. They were winning this game 21-5, and Arkansas had a couple garbage time touchdowns, so they ended up winning 21-19. But even Liberty is looking good. They only have 1 loss, so I'm putting them ahead of the next 3 just because of that reason, and I do really believe in them. Talking about those next 3, the next 3 have 3 losses, but the next 3 also have a lot of great wins. So we're going to talk about Texas. I put Texas ahead of them, obviously, because Texas just beat Kansas State. So obviously I'm going to put them ahead of them. Texas I had not ranked at all, and I just decided to move them up to 18 because I do really believe that they were a good team and they should have beaten Alabama, and they probably shouldn't have lost the other couple games. The Oklahoma State one, Oklahoma State looks terrible. We're going to talk about that later too, because I don't know what's going on with Oklahoma State, and I do not know how Texas lost to them. But nonetheless, they beat Kansas State convincingly, even though they basically let them come back in this game, which is Texas healed. They always let these teams come back against them at the end of the game. They cannot finish games. I hope that changes eventually, but that's one of the Longhorns' problems. They're going to have to figure that out. But after them, I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame obviously beat up on Clemson, so they had some bad losses. They lost to Stanford and Marshall, for fuck's sakes, man. But then they come in and just obliterate Clemson. That should speak volumes on how bad Clemson actually is. And I moved them behind Texas because they've looked less impressive in the past. So that's my reasoning there. And then the quarterback situation, Quinn Ewers is definitely better than Drew Pine for Notre Dame. But then right behind Notre Dame, we have Martinez and Kansas State. They've had some head-scratching wins and head-scratching losses. This game, they almost came back and won at home. Deuce Vaughn is such a great player, and he almost won this game for them until Martinez turned it over at the end of the game, which is a lot of foreshadowing for him since he always did that at Nebraska, and now he's at Kansas State, and then he does it a couple times. Like, you get what I mean. It kind of follows him. And honestly, I want to move Kansas State down more, but they have impressive wins. The Oklahoma State one doesn't look as impressive anymore, but they have impressive wins. So I just feel like I need to keep them at the butt end of the top 20, especially looking at 21 because we have Illinois. They lost at home to Michigan State, and we know Michigan State is a bad team. They are not good at anything. I don't have anything good to say about Michigan State. Their offense is bad. Their defense isn't that good. So I do not know how Illinois lost to them. I had Illinois at 14, so I moved them back 7 because of that loss. They only lost by 8, but it just speaks volumes that they lost to that team. They need to do better on offense. And then after that, we have NC State. I had NC State at the 25th spot. I moved them up to 22. They beat Wake Forest 30-21, and honestly, MJ Morris didn't look that bad as a quarterback, even though Devin Leary's hurt, so it's still a bit weary. And honestly, Hartman did not have a good game for Wake Forest. I really don't think Wake Forest is that good of a team. Everyone kind of kept them up high in the rankings because how close they kept Clemson, but you know, Clemson obviously is trash, so that game doesn't look impressive anymore. I moved Wake Forest out of my top 25 because of that and because of this win, so congratulations to them. And then right behind them, I have UCF. I had UCF, I think, at the 24th spot, and I moved them up 1. They beat Memphis 35-28. They still look good. Gus Malzahn has them playing well, and they're winning every week, so I think UCF deserves it. And then returning to the rankings at 24, I have Washington. They beat Oregon State. Oregon State was actually ranked. I had them ranked at 22, I believe, and then the College Playoff Committee had them at 23. They lost to Washington, and Washington's 7-2, and they've won their last few games, so I'm bringing them right back into the rankings. They're at 24. Penix played pretty good in this game. He threw a lot of passes, and he completed a lot too, but they only won 24-21. But nonetheless, it's a win over a ranked team, so welcome back to the top 25, Washington. And then at 25, rounding out the whole thing, Cincinnati. Cincinnati doesn't look impressive, but honest to God, they're consistent. They're winning. They're also 7-2. And I honestly believe that they are the 25th best team in the country, probably. They beat Navy 20-10. I know there's a couple other teams sitting on the outside looking in, like Kentucky and stuff like that, but they also did not look good in their game over Missouri either. So I decided to keep Cincinnati at 25, and that's my top 25. There's a couple games I want to talk about outside of the top 25, which I'm going to talk about now. One of those being Kansas and Oklahoma State, and Kansas obliterated them 37-16. I don't know what's wrong with Oklahoma State, but their defense and offense just aren't working. Their defense is letting up everything. Every offensive play, they cannot stop anything. The run, the pass, nothing. Over the last few games, they have not been able to do anything. And on offense, they're starting to look like Iowa. They can't score. They can't move the ball. They can't run. They can't throw. Sanders is making so many mistakes. I don't know where to go with this team. They're just horrible. And they are not ranked. They're not coming back. So we can forget about them. And I want to talk about one more game, and that's Houston and SMU. If there's ever been a basketball score in football, it's this game. And I just want to say rest in peace to the defense in this game, because 140 points were scored. Houston scored 63 and still lost by 14 points. SMU had 77 points, and the quarterbacks themselves combined for a total of 18 touchdowns. Clayton Tune threw 7 touchdowns and ran another one, so he had 8. Tanner Mordecai, he threw 9 touchdowns and ran one. He had 10 touchdowns in this game. Absolutely ridiculous. The odds for this game was 65.5. 65.5. They more than 2 times it, and that is absolutely shocking. When I saw the score of this game, I swear to God, I thought college basketball came back. But yeah, congratulations to SMU for winning, I guess. Please hire new defensive coordinators. But yeah, with all that being said, that's going to be the end of the video. End of my rant. I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Maybe I'll make something for the college football playoff rankings when they come out. But honestly, we'll see. I've been very busy the last few weeks. But nonetheless, you guys know I'll be back next week. I'll be making videos on Saturday. That is what I do. And if I have time, I'll make a couple videos during the weekdays. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.